Sorry, but your daughter's medical equipment would make others uncomfortable at Thanksgiving, my mother-in-law, Patricia, said over the phone. Her voice dripped with fake concern. You understand, right? We want everything to be perfect this year with the investors coming. I glanced at my 7-year-old daughter, Emma, who was drawing peacefully at her small table, her portable oxygen concentrator humming quietly beside her. The same equipment that had kept her alive since her premature birth was now apparently an eyesore to Patricia's social climbing ambitions. Perfect, I repeated, my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. And by perfect, you mean pretending Emma doesn't exist. Don't be dramatic, Olivia. Patricia sighed. Of course, we love Emma. It's just, appearances matter. Michael's potential investors will be there with their families. We can't have them distracted by medical equipment during dinner. I watched Emma adding careful strokes of purple to her drawing, her dark curls falling over her face as she concentrated. She was the spitting image of her grandmother Elizabeth, Patricia's mother-in-law, who had passed away just 3 months ago. The same determined chin, the same creative spirit. What does James say about this? I asked, thinking of my husband, who was currently away on a business trip. James agrees completely, Patricia said quickly. He understands how important this dinner is for the family business. I doubted that. James had always stood up for Emma, had always put her first. But lately, with the pressure of taking over his father's company, he'd been more distant, more willing to give in to his mother's demands. I'll talk to James about it myself, I said firmly. Don't bother him with this, dear. He's so busy with the merger. Patricia's voice took on that condescending tone I'd grown to hate. Just stay home with Emma. Have your own little celebration. It's probably better for her anyway, less overwhelming. After hanging up, I sat at my desk, hands shaking with suppressed rage. 6 years of dealing with Patricia's subtle exclusions, her backhanded comments, her constant attempts to hide Emma from her social circle. But this was different. This was blatant rejection. My phone buzzed with a text from James. Mom told me about Thanksgiving. Maybe she's right this time. Emma gets tired at big gatherings anyway. We can celebrate together when I'm back. I stared at the message, feeling something break inside me. This wasn't the man I'd married, the one who'd spent countless nights in the ICU with me, who'd learned every detail of Emma's medical care without complaint. Mommy, look. Emma's voice pulled me from my thoughts. She held up her drawing, a family of bears having a picnic. It's us having Thanksgiving. I smiled, fighting back tears. It's beautiful, sweetheart. What Emma didn't know was that I'd spent the morning with Elizabeth's lawyer, Mr. Sullivan. 2 weeks before her death, Elizabeth had called me to her house while Emma was at school. Patricia's showing her true colors more and more, Elizabeth had said, her voice weak but her eyes sharp as ever. James is too blind to see it, too caught up in becoming his father. But I see everything. She handed me a thick envelope. Give this to Sullivan after I'm gone. And Olivia, when the time comes, don't let them know you were prepared. That envelope contained documents that would shake Patricia's perfect world to its foundations. Elizabeth, it turned out, had owned the majority shares in the family company, shares that everyone assumed would go to James. She'd also owned the sprawling family estate where Patricia held court, hosting her precious social events. Mr. Sullivan had confirmed it all this morning. Everything's in order, he'd said, just as Elizabeth planned. The reading of the will is scheduled for the day after Thanksgiving. I looked at Emma, still absorbed in her drawing, blissfully unaware of the family drama swirling around her. Patricia thought she was orchestrating the perfect Thanksgiving, impressing investors with her carefully curated family image. She had no idea that her perfectly planned dinner would be one of her last in that house. My phone buzzed again. Another text from James. Mom's really stressed about the investors. Let's not make waves right now. I didn't respond. Instead, I walked over to Emma and knelt beside her table. How about we plan our own special Thanksgiving, just you and me? Her face lit up. Can we have pizza? We can have anything you want, I promised, pulling her into a gentle hug, careful not to disturb her oxygen line. Over her shoulder, I caught sight of Patricia's latest social media post, preparing for the perfect family Thanksgiving. Grateful for our beautiful, healthy family. #blessed. I smiled, thinking of the documents in Mr. Sullivan's office. Sometimes, the best response to cruelty isn't immediate confrontation. It's patience. Patricia would learn that lesson soon enough. Emma pulled back from the hug, her eyes serious. Will Daddy be sad he missed our pizza Thanksgiving? I said carefully. Daddy will have a lot to think about after this Thanksgiving. As Emma returned to her drawing, I started making plans. Patricia wanted her perfect holiday. Fine, let her have it. But by the time the leftovers were packed away, she'd learned what really matters in a family, and it isn't appearances. The day before Thanksgiving, Patricia's social media went into overdrive. Photos of the elaborately decorated dining room, the professional catering setup, and her designer table settings flooded my feed. Each post tagged the visiting investors and their families, along with captions about family traditions and generational wealth. I muted her account and focused on Emma, who was helping me knead dough for our homemade pizza. Her oxygen tube occasionally got dusted with flour, making her giggle. These were the real family moments, messy, imperfect, and full of love. Mrs. Bennett? Emma asked, referring to her favorite teacher. She said we're having a gratitude circle at school today. Can we do one too? Of course, sweetheart. I wiped flour from her cheek. What are you grateful for? My pizza chef mommy, she grinned, and Grandma Elizabeth's special paint set. My heart tightened. Elizabeth had given Emma that professional art set just weeks before she passed, along with hours of patient instruction. Patricia had called it a waste, saying Emma's medical issues would prevent her from pursuing anything artistic. My phone buzzed. James again. Mom's really outdone herself this year. The house looks amazing. The Hendersons are impressed already. I typed back, how's the merger looking? Good, Mr. Henderson's practically guaranteed his investment. Mom was right about keeping things streamlined tomorrow. Streamlined, like his daughter's medical equipment was just an inconvenient business obstacle. That evening, as Emma slept peacefully in her room, her oxygen concentrator humming a steady rhythm, I received an unexpected visit. Sarah, James's younger sister, knocked on my door, looking troubled. I just came from Mom's pre-Thanksgiving prep, she said, settling on my couch. It's like a circus over there. But Olivia, the things she's saying about Emma. Let me guess, she's pretending she doesn't have a granddaughter. Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes. She told the Hendersons that James has no children yet. She's hidden all the family photos with Emma. When I confronted her, she said it was just business and that I wouldn't understand since I'm not a mother. I thought of Elizabeth's words, Patricia's showing her true colors. There's something else, Sarah continued. Mom's been bragging about inheriting Elizabeth's shares in the company. She's already promised Mr. Henderson a seat on the board once everything's settled. I kept my face neutral, though inside I was laughing at Patricia's presumption. That's interesting. I can't believe James is going along with this. The brother I grew up with would never. People change, I said quietly, or maybe they just show who they really are. After Sarah left, I checked on Emma again. Her room walls were covered with her artwork, bright, vibrant pieces that Elizabeth had insisted on framing properly. Talent should be displayed, she'd said, giving Patricia a pointed look. My phone chimed with a message from Mr. Sullivan. Everything's prepared for Friday. Elizabeth would be proud of how you're handling this. I smiled, remembering my last conversation with Elizabeth. She'd been sitting in her favorite armchair, watching Emma paint. You know why Patricia hates the medical equipment so much? She'd asked. It's not about appearances, it's about control. She can't control Emma's condition, can't make it fit her perfect narrative. And she hates anything she can't control. Looking at Emma now, peaceful in her sleep, I thought about control. Patricia was certainly in her element, orchestrating her perfect Thanksgiving, positioning her pieces on the social chessboard. She had no idea she was playing a game that had been decided months ago. Another notification popped up, Patricia's latest post. Final touches on our perfect family gathering. So blessed to be carrying on Elizabeth's legacy of elegant entertaining. #family tradition, #blessed. Attached was a photo of Elizabeth's antique china cabinet, now stripped of the children's artwork she'd always displayed there. Emma's latest painting, the one Elizabeth had proudly placed front and center, was gone, replaced by crystal wine glasses. My phone buzzed again. James, Mom's outdone herself. The investors are impressed. You understand why tomorrow needs to be perfect, right? I looked at my sleeping daughter, then at the legal documents Mr. Sullivan had given me. Perfect is relative, I thought. And tomorrow will certainly be memorable, just not in the way Patricia expects. As I turned out the lights, I caught sight of one last social media update. Patricia, resplendent in her designer dress, raising a toast with the investors, grateful for family values and tradition. Tomorrow will be a celebration of our legacy. Legacy. If only she knew what Elizabeth's real legacy would be. Thanksgiving Day arrived with a flood of social media posts from Patricia's perfectly orchestrated dinner. Photos of elegant place settings, guests in formal attire, and carefully curated family moments filled my feed. Meanwhile, Emma and I spent our day making pizza, painting, and having our own gratitude circle. Then my phone lit up with an unexpected text from Mr. Sullivan. News from the dinner. You might want to check Patricia's latest post. I opened Instagram to find a live video of Patricia, clearly tipsy from wine, making an announcement to her guests. We're so blessed to announce that, with Elizabeth's shares being transferred to James next week, the Henderson merger is officially happening. A new chapter for our family legacy. In the background, I could see James nodding, raising his glass with Mr. Henderson. The comment section was flooded with congratulations and heart emojis. "Mommy, can we call Grandma Elizabeth's lawyer now?" Emma asked, surprising me. "She told me to remind you when Grandma Pat made her big announcement." I stared at my daughter. "Grandma Elizabeth talked to you about this?" Emma nodded solemnly. "She said sometimes grown-ups forget what's important and that you would know when to make a call." Fighting back tears, I dialed Mr. Sullivan. Within minutes, Patricia's perfect dinner was interrupted by his arrival at the estate. I waited, watching through the still-running live stream as he entered the dining room, briefcase in hand. "I apologize for interrupting," his voice came through clearly in the video. "But as Elizabeth Mitchell's executor, I'm legally obligated to correct some misinformation about tomorrow's will reading." The camera shook as Patricia tried to stop the recording, but someone, probably Sarah, kept it running. "The company shares and estate will not be transferred to James," Mr. Sullivan continued. "Elizabeth's final wishes were quite specific. Everything has been left in trust to her great-granddaughter, Emma, with Olivia as trustee until Emma turns 25. The silence was deafening. Then Patricia's voice, shrill with disbelief. "That's impossible. Emma's just a child. She can't. She's not even." Additionally, Mr. Sullivan added, "Elizabeth left specific instructions that the estate must be made fully accessible for medical equipment and that the trust includes funds for an art therapy program for children with medical needs, to be run from the property." The live stream ended abruptly, but the damage was done. Hundreds had watched Patricia's perfect world crumble in real time. My phone exploded with messages. "James first. Did you know about this? Why didn't you say anything?" Then Patricia. "You planned this? You turned Elizabeth against us." Finally, Sarah. "OMG, Mom's having a meltdown. The Hendersons just left. This is better than reality TV." I turned off my phone and looked at Emma, who was adding the final touches to a new painting. "Grandma Elizabeth said sometimes the best medicine is letting people learn their own lessons," she said wisely. The next morning, as we headed to Mr. Sullivan's office for the official will reading, I thought about Elizabeth's final gift. It wasn't just the shares or the estate. It was the lesson she taught both Emma and me, that true family sees past the surface, past the equipment and imperfections, to the heart of what matters. Patricia and James were already there, looking shell-shocked. As Mr. Sullivan read the full terms of the will, including Elizabeth's personal letter explaining her decision, I watched their perfect facade finally crack. "I leave my legacy," Elizabeth had written, "not to those who chase perfection, but to those who embrace life in all its beautiful imperfection." Emma and Olivia understand what Patricia never could, that love isn't about appearances, it's about acceptance. As we left the office, Emma squeezed my hand. "Can we have pizza for dinner again?" I smiled, thinking of Patricia's elegant Thanksgiving feast. "Absolutely. Perfect isn't always what it seems, is it?" "Nope," Emma agreed. "Perfect is just being us." And that, I realized, was Elizabeth's real legacy, teaching us that sometimes the most perfect moments are the ones that would never make it to Patricia's Instagram feed.